All right, the day has come. We're going to fall some trees. We're going to start with this Doug fir that's behind me here. And we thought we'd just give you a quick tour of all the supplies generally that we're going to use today. So we've got our chainsaw. This is a Stihl 660. It's probably a pretty big saw for just cutting firewood, but this is also going to be our timber framing saw. Hopefully we'll be cutting our own lumber out of trees like this one. So we'll be using that guy to cut into the tree there. We've got a few felling wedges, and these are unique because they actually have a burr on them so they stay in. That's pretty unique. You actually want that when you're felling a tree. You don't want your wedge to pop out. So I've got 3 of those guys with me here. Got my hard hat because you never know what's going to come falling when you're trying to fall a tree. Hopefully the tree won't fall on you, but this will help with branches, pine cones, things like that. Squirrels, you never know what's going to fall out of a tree. Got ear protection. Chainsaws are loud if you didn't already know, and it's just worth it to protect your hearing. You know, you could probably run a chainsaw most of the time without a problem, but why risk it, you know? And then finally, we've got our axe, Fisker's axe. And what we'll actually be using this for today is putting in the wedges. We're not going to be chopping the tree down at all per se. We might be using it if we had to unbind the saw, if that happens, but primarily we'll be using this to pound in our felling wedges. So basics, safety glasses, got those. These are not sunglasses, these are actually safety glasses. Got a hard hat, got ear protection, hand protection, got good gloves. I may switch to my leather gloves. Sometimes work gloves like this, the sawdust will get in them and the burrs are just terrible, so I may switch to a leather glove just to give my hands a little more protection. Make sure you're standing on solid ground. So that's a basic tour of the equipment that we'll be using today. Now I'll go over how basic strategy of falling this particular tree. So the basic technique for cutting this tree down is important to communicate because we're actually on a hillside. And when you're falling trees, obviously you want to try to keep the tree as best intact as you can so that you can harvest the most lumber or firewood from it. Being that we're on a hill, if we fall this tree downhill, it's about a 140-foot tree, something like that. If we fall it downhill, the sheer weight of it falling when it hits the ground is going to snap the tree. It'll bust it in half. That means we're going to lose a lot of valuable lumber. So we don't want to do that. If we fall it uphill, we don't risk so much the breaking of the tree, but what will happen is we'll end up with a tree sled. Because the branches will just break off once it hits the ground, there's nothing to keep that tree from just sliding down the hill, which makes it a missile. And that's particularly dangerous. We don't need any tree missiles right now. So what we're going to try to do is actually fell this across the hill. And the reason for that is it both will protect the tree from hopefully breaking. There's no particularly large objects in the way over here. And then the branches should keep the tree from turning or spinning. Once it falls down, hopefully it won't spin too much on us. And that'll make it in a pretty good place for us to limb the tree and then move the sections down to the flat spot where we can start to work on either milling the lumber or we can get it out of here. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a cut into the tree about halfway through here. And we're going to put a little bit of an angle on it. And then we're going to come up from the bottom and make that into a wedge. So we're going to cut a wedge out of this half of the tree here. Then I'm going to come in the back side of the tree and start a cut. Once I get far enough in, I can start putting wedges in. I'm going to do that. I'm actually going to put 2 wedges in. And I'm going to try to leave the 3rd wedge for double wedging. So single wedging would be this, double wedging would be this. And I want to get enough force on that tree that it really, really wants to go that direction. So we'll use the axe to pound these wedges in, and then as I cut in, I'm also going to keep putting the wedges in farther and try to make that tree fall that direction. Once the tree starts to fall and I know which direction it's decided it's going to go, I'm going to make a rapid escape so that I don't get injured by either the tree coming out from underneath the stump or from getting caught underneath the tree. So we'll have Alyssa back at a safe distance. She'll be trying to film all this fun in action. So that's a little bit about how we're going to do this. Let's get started.
Holy crap!
Well, that wasn't very exciting, I suppose. Everything went exactly as planned. In fact, it went better than planned. We didn't even have to wedge the tree at all. It behaved exactly the way we wanted it to. Nice, sharp, brand new chain, so everything cut nice and easy. Didn't pinch the saw or anything fun or exciting like that. So, as you can see, tree's behind me. Got a nice shallow bite on the stump, so we didn't lose any wood to the stump. Hopefully that'll make a nice place for squirrels to sit and eat their nuts in the future. Yeah, so tree's laying down across the hill. I didn't hear any violent breaks or snaps or anything, so here's hoping the wood's all intact. We'll find out later when we try to cut it into lumber. Hopefully no issues. Pretty good tamarack tree, took a pretty good hit. It landed right on the tamarack tree and then kind of bounced off and went to the downhill side, so poor tamarack tree. I already apologized. I'll give it a hug in a little bit, but thanks for stopping my tree. Appreciate it. Anyway, yeah, so that went really good, and we'll probably start working on limbing this guy, get those limbs out of here, and then when we kind of have an idea on dimensions for lumber, we'll start cutting sections out of this guy, and we'll either roll them or we'll winch them to the bottom of the hill and get to work on making lumber out of it. So we'll see you in the next clip. All right, so we survived limbing the first tree. We're gonna take this guy down second, and this one's a little more challenging because we've got some obstacles behind us. So we're actually gonna try to follow it right where the camera is. We're gonna move the camera first. So we're gonna wedge this one, and we'll see if we can get her to follow that direction. The only damage done to us on that tree over there was a little nick in my jeans. And a lot of people pay a lot of money for nicks in jeans. I mean, they call them faded. So if you wanna buy these from me, just let me know. Anyway, we're going to get to cutting this tree down. We'll see you in the next clip. Hey! Go! All right, this tree is down, but I would be lying if I said everything went smoothly. That is farthest from the truth as possible. In fact, we thought this tree was going that direction, and there's a couple of vehicles behind us that are very much at risk. We had a hunch that this tree might fall that direction. We did everything we could to try to get it to go the other way, and it just didn't want to go. As soon as I came in the back of that stump with my saw, the tree pinched my saw, which means it wanted to go that way, even though it only had that much holding it up to keep it going that way. So we ended up having to meet some neighbors at a last-minute emergency. We ran over to meet the neighbors that own this property and see if those vehicles were valuable or not. And they were like, we don't know, you know. So we thought, well, worst case scenario, it goes that way. We ended up having to use 4 1,000-pound ratchet straps. We hooked that to a single 5/8" chain. And we harnessed the power of this little tiny fir tree over here, and using 4 straps, we slowly pulled that tree back enough to unpinch my saw. Then we drove in our felling wedges one at a time, and between the wedges and the straps, we were able to move the tree, slowly move the tree, and eventually she began to fall, ironically, right where we hoped she'd fall in the first place. So it was a bit scary. There was a lot of chaos going. I didn't want Alyssa running around with the camera, so we kind of cut for a lot of that stuff because at the end of the day, I'd rather have her safe than have the most epic tree falling on you footage ever in history. So, be ingenuitive, be safe, first of all. It's not worth it. I'm glad my saw survived, but if the tree would have gone the other way, I'm pretty sure it would have taken the saw with it because it was just in the wrong place. So, use good judgment. Something we tried to do. We actually talked to the neighbor who's a logger. We actually asked him for some advice, and he said the same thing. Well, I think it'll fall. You know, at the end of the day, a tree goes where it wants to go. So we did everything we could. Just so happens one of our other neighbors, which we meant to meet, he showed up at the very last minute, and I think he had a magical touch. I'm not gonna lie, because somehow when we left here, my saw was pinched, and when we came back, he literally just took the saw out of the tree. So I don't know if he had a magical touch or suddenly our ratchet strap started working. I'm not really sure. Anyway, once that saw came out, we were able to get the wedges in there, and happily the tree is down. So we're done felling trees for the day. We got 2 of them down. This one took about 10 times longer than we thought it should, or probably would. So we'll get this one limbed up. We got the other one all limbed up, and then we're gonna take off and go look for some building materials. So if you're enjoying this video and you want to learn more about homesteading, off-grid living, building your own timber frame structures, please subscribe to our blog. It's purelivingforlife.com. And we also have a YouTube channel. If you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe. You'll get notifications of videos as we go along. We also do many posts on Facebook and Instagram. We do those kind of that we don't do on the blog and on YouTube. So if you like those channels, please follow us over there. And stay tuned. We'll see you in the next video.